Hey guys, Dustin here, and welcome to another episode of Horroritis. So, today we're back with another indie review. This one is called Horror Hotel. This, like the last couple, is another anthology movie. From what I can tell, this used to be a web series, and the stories got kind of compiled into movie length, and it's a movie all centered around one hotel where weird things just happen. Now, before we get too deep into this movie, I do kind of have one word of warning. The title of the movie is Horror Hotel, but this movie is surprisingly light on horror. Now, don't let that turn you off, because it's not a bad thing. This one goes kind of like old school Outer Limits, Twilight Zone stuff. You know, it's weird, it's off the wall. Take the first story in the series, for example, called Aliens Stole My Boyfriend. Now, this story is about a guy and a girl living in the hotel, obviously, and a spaceship lands on their car. The spaceship is inhabited by two aliens who have only seen TV broadcasts from the 60s, so they're dressed like go-go girls, and they talk like they're from the 60s, and they're in search of a boyfriend. As you can tell, it's not horror, but it's sci-fi, it's campy, and it's just the right amount of ridiculous without going overboard, so it doesn't really seem wrong, you know? The second story is called Coma Girl. It's about a woman in a coma, her husband who visits her and spends time with her all the time, and the maintenance man in the care facility that has fallen in love with her. This one falls closer to the horror line and is pretty good. The next story is called Brain Robbers in Love. This is where a rich woman steals a machine that allows you to swap brains with somebody so that she can use a younger person's body to infiltrate her business rivals. Although the consequences are quite unexpected. This one's mostly sci-fi, but still within the range of horror. The next story in the series is called The Problem with Clones. Now, this one is about a man. He's a skip tracer, or sort of like a bounty hunter, who's searching for a woman who skipped out on bail. She's wanted for the murder of her sister, and as it turns out, she is one of many sisters who are all cloned from their mother. And so all of these characters are played by one actress, and the cool thing here is that they're so widely different. Like, one's kind of nerdy, and, you know, one is like a witch, and, you know, it's like so many different people. You can tell it's all the same girl. But it's kind of cool, but this one really hits hard on the sci-fi. The next one's called Four Eyes. It's about a paraplegic hitman who's hired to kill a guy's ex-girlfriend until the tables turn for a slightly unexpected conclusion. This one also falls closer to the horror line. The last story in the anthology is called Life After Men. This one hits harder on the sci-fi note, because this one takes place in the distant future where men have become extinct. All the ones that are left alive are outlawed and hunted down, and women basically rule the world, and everybody's connected to a computer grid. The computer grid goes down one night, and, well, things happen. Now again, all of these stories take place in the same hotel at one time or another, and you can tell that these were different stories at different times. Like, it was a web series, and they were just kind of smashed all together to make a movie, and with no real big connective story to tie it all together. These are just stories within one hotel, and we don't actually know anything about the hotel itself, just that these things happened in it, which is kind of different from the regular anthologies that we normally see, where there's one story kind of to hold everything together, and then little stories inside of that. This doesn't have that. This is just things that have happened either in the past, present, or future at this hotel. So let's jump into what I didn't like about this movie. Now, like I said before, it was kind of hard for me to call this a horror movie, even though the title says Horror Hotel, because a lot of these hit closer to sci-fi than horror, even though both of them are in the realm of speculative fiction, especially from a writing standpoint. So they're kind of hand in hand. They exist on the same plane, but they're not quite in the same space. But they're close enough that this is okay. One of the things that bugged me, though, was in the first story, Aliens Stole My Boyfriend. These aliens, they crash down, literally crash a spaceship into these people's car. And almost nobody bats an eye at this. The girl is more concerned about whether or not these alien girls have insurance and whether or not she can get her car fixed. Nobody's even freaking out that there's a UFO crashed on her car or that there's two aliens standing in front of them who just kind of materialize out of nowhere. Nobody says anything about this. They're just kind of like, aliens, okay. Instead of, holy shit, that's a UFO. Nobody even says that. Nobody even cares. Also, in the story, the problem with clones, which I really want to keep calling the trouble with tribbles, and I can't stop myself from doing it, the problem with clones, as this guy's going around room to room looking for this girl who he's got to get back to the judge before she's sentenced to jail or whatever is about to happen to her, one of her sisters is a witch who can psychically tell where her sister is. So this guy walks into her room and there's a corpse rotting on her bed, literally rotting. His face is falling off. The place stinks, you can tell. And she says, "Don't worry about him." And the guy goes, "Okay, I won't." Why not? That's literally a dead body. Some janky shit has gone down and nobody's saying anything about it. Honestly, though, those are the only things that I really had trouble with this movie. Aside from that, the acting was, for the most part, good. There were some spots where the acting was kind of stiff or wasn't quite where it should have been. The cinematography, for the most part, was decent. Again, there were some spots where maybe it could have been better, but I chalk that up to probably, each story was shot at a different time. Different people, just all sorts of different factors. It wasn't filmed all together as one movie. It was different things, probably at different times, and then just edited together later to make a movie. So I can understand these things. Maybe things weren't right one day or one place, whatever. So it's not a big deal. For the most part, the acting is good. The cinematography is good. The thing that I really liked about it, though, is that it has just the right amount of camp to make it entertaining without going overboard and becoming stupid or a parody of what it was trying to achieve. I think really it was going for a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits feel, and I think for the most part it achieved that. I wouldn't call this a straight horror movie. It does have horror elements, but I think overall it's probably more sci-fi, but definitely still worth a watch. I actually like this one and would probably recommend it to anybody who's a fan of Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, or campy sci-fi movies. This kind of hits the mark across all those fronts. So if you're into that stuff, this is a movie worth checking out. That's my review for Horror Hotel. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down button. If you've got a movie you want me to review, go ahead and drop it in the comments below or send me an email at thehorroritis@gmail.com. Also, check the description below. It's going to be there as well, along with all of my social media links and all that other garbage. Yeah, so that's it. If you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. And until then, I'm Dustin. This was Horroritis. And until next time, keep it creepy.